Shalom, y'all. I hope you're doing well. Very, very well. My cup says, faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. Healthy words, right? On our last few episodes, we kind of focused on fruits, right? Fruits of teachers, fruits of prophets, fruits of believers, to a degree. I kind of want to turn the focus over to doctrine on this episode, if we can. I have a plethora of verses to go over, and much of the New Testament, a few from the Old, and I think this collection is kind of the most practical use of this discernment, because we're forewarned. We're forewarned to be on the watch, look out for any sort of falsehood, right? Far be it we be deceived. So, why don't we just break into it? I hope you're well. I love you, and let's not be swayed. Brothers, sisters, I marvel that you are so soon removed from him that called you into the grace of Messiah unto another Besorah, gospel. But there be some that trouble you, and would pervert the Besorah of Messiah. But though we, or an angel of heaven, preach any other gospel to you than that which we have preached to you, let him be accursed. As we said before, so say I now again, if any man preach another message to you than that you have received, let him be accursed. You cannot drink from the cup of the Most High and the cup of devils. You cannot be partakers of our Adonai's table and of the table of devils. For we dare not make ourselves of the number, the greater number, or compare ourselves with some that commend themselves. But they measure themselves by themselves and compare themselves among themselves. They are not wise. Do not be swayed. For if he that comes preaching another Messiah, whom we have not preached, or if you receive another spirit, which you have not received, or another Besorah, which you have not accepted, you put up with it far too easily. So what is this other Besorah he's talking about, the other gospel that he's talking about, the other message? Right? That seems to be kind of the big question here. Well, let's turn to the Besorah, right? Let's go over to John. John 3:16, the big classic. Let's have a read here. Elohim so loved the world that he gave his only brought forth Son, so that everyone who believed in him should not perish, but possess everlasting life. For Elohim did not send his Son into the world to judge the world, but that the world through him might be saved, through the belief that he exists, and to accept him as your guiding light. Right? That's kind of the big Hail Mary message to everyone, right? Believe in him, and you shall be saved. Well, it goes a little further. Let's turn over to Matthew 5. Let's go 18 and 19. This is him on the mount opening up his sermon. This is his big opening speech. For truly I say to you, till heaven and earth pass away, one yod or one tittle shall by no means pass away from the Torah, shall all be done, till heaven and earth pass away. Whoever then breaks one of the least of these commands and teaches men to do so shall be called least in the kingdom. But whosoever does them and teaches men to do so, well, that man shall be called great. So, there's a few doctrines out there that say, oh, he did away with the law. We don't have to follow those things. I'd venture to say that that is a different Besorah than the one that Messiah himself preached via his words on the Sermon on the Mount. Till heaven and earth pass away, not one yod or a tittle shall go away from the law of the Most High. And we'll get into that. So let us continue. Whosoever transgress and abide not in the doctrine of Messiah has not Yah. He that abide in the doctrine of Messiah, he has both the Father and the Son. If there come any unto you, and bring not this doctrine, something different, receive him not into your house, neither bid him Yah speed. Blessings to you. For he that bid him Yah speed is a partaker in his evil works. That thou might instruct others, that they teach no other doctrine, neither give heed to fables and endless genealogies, which minister questions, rather than edifying, which is in faith. Do so. Now the end of the commandment is charity, out of a pure heart, and of a good conscience, and of faith unfeigned, from which some having swerved have turned aside unto vain janglings, desiring to be teachers of the law, understanding neither what they say, nor whereof they affirm. But we know that the law is good, if a man uses it lawfully. Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless. It's made for correction, right? Let's continue. And for the disobedient, for the unjust and for the sinners, for the profane, for the murderers of fathers and the murderers of mothers, for the manslayers, for the whoremongers, for them that defile themselves with mankind, for stealers, for liars, for perverted persons. And if there be any other thing that is contrary to the sound doctrine, the sound doctrine, there's only one, according to the glorious Besorah of our blessed Adonai, which was committed to my trust. So those are the things that the law was made for. It was made for correction, right? Once we are past that correction, we are to focus on the fruits, right? Because at that point, the law is placed in our hearts and we just follow it. But what do we look forward to? The fruits. Love, patience, kindness, right? If any man teaches otherwise, and consent not to wholesome words, even the words of our Adonai, Yahushua, and to the doctrine which is according to justness, he is proud, knowing nothing, but doting about questions and strifes of words. Where comes envy, strife, railings, evil surmising, perverse disputing of men, the corruption of minds, the destituteness of truth, supposing that gain is justified. From such people withdraw yourself. It's said that bad association spoil useful habits, right? Well, he forewarns us, withdraw from such people. Now I beseech you, brethren, mark them that cause divisions and offenses, contrary to the doctrine which you have learned, and avoid them. For they that are such serve not Adonai Yahushua, but their own belly, and by good words and fair speeches deceive the heart of the simple, the gullible, the meek, right? Because they're there to learn, they're teachable, and so you have a false teacher teaching doctrines of demons. For thou hast said, my doctrine is pure, and I am clean in my own eyes. Then the master said to me, the prophets prophesy lies in my name. I sent them not, neither have I commanded them, neither spoke to them. They prophesy unto you a false vision and divination, and the thing of naught, and the deceit of their heart. Thus said the Master of hosts, hearken not to the words of the prophets that prophesy unto you. They make you vain. They speak a vision of their own heart, and not out of the mouth of Yah. This is a rebellious people, lying children, children that will hear the law of the Master, which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right rulings. Speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceits. Thy Redeemer, and he that formed thee from the womb. I am the El that makes all things, that stretches forth the heavens alone, that spreads abroad the earth by myself, that frustrate the tokens of the liars, and make diviners mad, that turn wise men backwards, and make their knowledge foolish. Woe to the fools, right? The big sledgehammer. If there arise among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, I want to further it, perhaps, to a teacher of teachers, and gives you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or wonder comes to pass, whereof he spoke of, saying, get this, let us go after other Elohims, other gods, which you have not known, and let us serve them. You shall not hear the words of that prophet, person, teacher, fellow brother, for the master, your Elohim, is in that very moment trying you to know whether you love him with all your heart and all your soul, to know whether you are going to stay faithful to him. It's a big question sometimes. Some people ask, it's why would he do these things to his people, to mankind? Why would he let bad things happen? Well, that's two ways. He wants to know where you stand. He wants to give you your freedom of free will. But he also lets another set up those stumbling blocks. The adversary. It's spiritual warfare. So we must keep our guards up and be on the watch. But the prophet, which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die. And if you say in your heart, how shall we know the word which the master has not spoken? When a prophet speaks in the name of, if the thing follows not, nor comes to pass, that the thing which the master has not spoken, but the prophet has spoken it presumptuously, you shall not fear him. He shall be nothing to you, but a passing person. Give ear, O ye heavens, and I will speak. And hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. My doctrine shall drop as the rain. My speech shall distill as the dew, and the small rain upon the tender herb, just as the showers upon the grass. So what does that poetic moment mean? Well, his doctrine is simple and smooth to the ears. It brings comfort. It's not burdensome, right? Even our Messiah said, my load is light. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened. I shall give you rest. It's like sweet rain on the grass. For know this, that after my departing, grievous wolves shall enter in among you, sparing not the flock, leading many astray. And even that kind of echoes our Messiah's words that says, many false prophets. I want to extend it out down to teachers and people of influence will rise up among you, leading the flock astray, leading many astray. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine. Us, you and me, right? So we have to be on the watch. But after their own lust shall they heap up for themselves teachers, having craftiness to itch the ears of others. And they shall turn away their ears from the truth. The people, you and me. Amongst these influencers, we shall be led astray if we walk their walk, follow after their teachings. I'm reminded that there is only one teacher. Not me, not others. There's one. There's one shepherd that leads one flock, right? Let's keep that in mind. And they shall turn their ears away from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables, falling under a great delusion. Well, that great delusion is what the Father sends after a time. After he's tested your free will and knows where you stand. I don't want us to be in that boat, right? I don't think any of us want anybody to be in that boat. We must test. We must test everything that everybody says to us. Look at it this way. When somebody says a verse to you, and they go on a big rant about said verse and how it applies to a certain scenario in life, remember that verse, and you go home, and you look that verse up, and you go one paragraph up, and you go one paragraph down, and you read the whole, you know what, better off, you read the whole chapter. And you find out exactly what that verse pertains to. And whether or not that person who went on that big, huge rant was cherry-picking verses to speak a doctrine of their heart. I want to end out with this. Once you find the true doctrine, that the laws are still applicable to us today, that we are to follow our Messiah's words, follow in his footsteps, walk as he walked, love thy neighbor, love thy enemy. You keep this in mind. When people cannot refute our message, when they cannot break down and destroy our doctrine, if they refuse to believe it, if they refuse to bow to the scriptures that are plainly written on the page, they have only one method of defending themselves. They have only one method which they can try to get others to not follow us. That message becomes slander. They use it to try to make others look down upon us. But fear not, for even in Matthew 5, it said, "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, because theirs is the reign of heavens." Shalom, everybody. We shall talk very, very soon, and I'll be back.